Welcome to another episode of PFF Film School. Max Chadwick alongside Coach Dalton, Wasserman here. We broke down personnel groupings before. Now we're going to break down run concepts, whether it be zone run concepts, gap run concepts. And Dalton, for the first time ever, we listened to the comment section. We've got video to show you guys right now from our good friends at the Senior Bowl. But Dalton, here at PFF, we kind of split up runs into two separate groups, and in those two separate groups are a bunch of other categories too. So why don't we start off with the different run concepts that we have in PFF?
Absolutely. So, I mean, look, these are just a list of the most common ones, and obviously coaches can always get creative with things. But look, running the ball is back in style, right? You saw the Eagles. They were the only team this year that ran it more than they threw it, and they won a Super Bowl with it, right? So let's go over just everything that we have. So you hear about first, you mentioned our zone run concepts. Now, there's kind of a mid-zone too that we drop in the outside zone bucket, and there's different ways to do it. But for the most part, what you have is inside zone and outside zone, which we'll explain, obviously. One of them is attacking inside between the tackles. The other one, you're trying to get to the corner, and if you have to cut it back, you will. But the whole point of outside zone is that there's simplistic any zone run, there's simplistic rules for the offensive lineman and easy reads for the running backs. You're not necessarily running to one gap. You're trying to execute blocks and figure out where to go with it, whether that's on the front side or the back side. So then we make that cutoff right there, and we go into our gap runs. And when you talk about gap runs, it's about trying to hit a certain part of the front seven, right? Could be a certain gap or a certain area, right? So you're talking about first all of our man or duo or ISO or lead concepts. The one that's commonly used now is duo. There's a lot of double teams, and the back gets to read things straight up through the line of scrimmage and bounce it if he has to. But any of those, you're talking about some form of what we would call base blocking, right? And you're talking about double teams and just trying to blow people off the ball, right? So that's all you're trying to do is overpower people. Now we'll talk about power, where you're going to have a lot of down blocks on the play side and one backside puller coming around either to kick out a defensive end or to get up on the second level. Counter, similar concept, but with two pullers from the backside. We're going to show that later as well. It could be a guard and a tackle, could be a guard and a tight end, could be a tackle and a tight end. Some teams even mess around and pull their center. If you have somebody like a Jason Kelsey or somebody athletic like that, they can do that too, right? A trap, we're going to talk about. That's an inside play where you're trying to trap a defensive tackle when you talk about leaving him unblocked to start with, and then there's a puller coming at him. So those are really a lot of the main ones with backside pullers. Then you get into some plays that we call pull leads, but there's pin pull, there's G blocks. Anything with a front side puller gets its own category. It could be a front side guard pulling on the same side, or like Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers are always pulling Trent Williams out on the edge around receivers. We're going to show something like that. And then lastly, your draw plays that are used in a lot of long distance situations or quarterback draws that we know about that, Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, those guys use when the middle clears out. So there's so many different concepts and ways to go about it, and we're going to try to simplify it as much as we can with good examples like you mentioned from our friends at the Senior Bowl.
Absolutely. Before we move on and show the clips of each concept here, Dawn, during draft season, a lot of times you hear about offensive linemen and running backs being, this guy's a zone blocker, this guy's a gap blocker, this running back's really good in a zone scheme, running back's really good in a gap scheme. How would you characterize what you're looking for in a zone blocker and a zone running back versus a gap blocker and a gap running back?
So more often when you're talking about zone blocking, you're talking more so, now in inside zone, you can maul some people. Look, if you're going to pancake people 5 yards down the line of scrimmage, that's great. But zone blocking, I would say, is a lot more about positioning and about creating angles and creating lanes laterally, right? So you talk about, I think about an athletic offensive lineman like a Chris Lindstrom, right? Where he's so good, his lateral agility is really the best thing about him. Not that he's not a strong player, but he understands how to get positioning, and his footwork is fantastic. Whereas sometimes if you're talking about those bigger, slower, old school offensive linemen, right, that are running power, they're running those down blocks, they just want to put guys on the sled. They're really strong. Maybe they're not as nimble, but you're talking about overpowering. Jim Harbaugh looks for a lot of those guys. I think about, we've talked about a Tyler Booker from Alabama who was the first round pick of the Dallas Cowboys. He's somebody that you want short area, just blowing people over in those down blocks and getting things really going downhill. So I think for the zone runs, you look for more athletic players, right? There's some guys who can win even if they're undersized. That's why Jason Kelsey could win, because of his athleticism and his mobility. So depends on the system you're running, but there's a place for each type of guy.
Is the same for running backs too? You're kind of looking for more athletic running backs in a zone scheme, or how does that apply there?
Certain backs, it's kind of a feel thing. Certain backs just can have a better feel, just like quarterbacks have their favorite pass concepts or receivers have their favorite routes. There's certain guys who just like to make that one cutback in a zone run, right? right? I think about Arian Foster back in the day with the Houston Texans, was the master of just making that one cut in those outside zone schemes under Gary Kubiak that he just goes, okay, get north and south and go. There's other guys, I think about a Frank Gore who had great vision in these gap schemes. Marshawn Lynch was like that too. You remember the Beastquake, right?
Yeah.
That play was power, and he actually cut it back to a backside escape route on that, and then the Beastquake happened, but it was all because of his vision and knowledge of the scheme. So I think it really is, it comes down to a comfort level. Sometimes you want, Mike McDaniel looks for backs with speed to get outside, but it comes down to a feel, and certain times backs have favorite concepts, just like quarterbacks have favorite pass concepts.
All right, first concept we're going to show you guys is inside zone here from the Senior Bowl. Don't break it down.
So what we're going to get is what you're looking for in inside zone, first and foremost, is the first man to the play side of the center. So this is going to be inside zone to the left here. We're going to slow this down once we get to playing it, but it's going to be very easy. This tackle's going to kick out here. This guard's going to get up to this linebacker. In this case, it's the job of the center to try to seal off this guy. But what the back is reading is that if this defensive tackle gets a slant going, he's going to cut back. If the center can seal him off, then you've got a case where he can just ride this big bubble of space right in here, right to the hole, right? So it's actually a little bit easier to run to this side. If we were going to that side of it, you'd be looking right here at, again, the first man to the play side of the center. Everybody on the back side, whether it's inside or outside zone, is always going to be looking to seal the guy to their inside shoulder. So this guard gets to this linebacker. Tough assignment for this tackle, but he's got to get in here on this defensive tackle enough, because when you get good backside blocks, you're talking about getting really big cutback lanes and giving the back an option to work with, and the tight end is going to get to this linebacker. That backside defensive end over there, way over by you, we're going to leave him unblocked. A lot of times, that's the unblocked guy you see when there's a read option, and even if not, we're playing the numbers game, right? Because up front, we've got 6, and you're talking about on defense 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hat-on-hat football, that's what you're looking for. We don't worry about the backside end. We don't worry about the safety. So, snap, we're going to freeze it right here. Now, the back initially made this read right because the center had a step, and this is pretty late in the play for the defensive tackle to win this, but this is his read initially. I'm going to bring this back just a touch here. And when you talk about right here, okay, you can see the space opening up here. If the center could keep his head across, we've got the big bubble of space, we've got the guard getting up on the linebacker, and we've got some options on the front side here. So this is not a scenario where the back is looking to cut back. If this block was won a little bit sooner, I'd say the backside is doing a pretty good job of sealing things off here, and you can see you've got this wall to work with on the backside. But I actually like this decision from the running back to take this front side bubble and see where he can go with it. It's just a matter of the center needing to hold this block. As you can see, he loses it right here. The guard doesn't have a whole lot of space. The linebacker does a nice job defending outside in. Realistically, I would want this right in here where this defensive tackle is. Still get a few yards on it. It's not pretty. If the center would have held this block, it's right. But that's the entire idea, is the back is reading the first man to the front side of the center. We're going to go to the next one, another outside zone look right here. Sorry, inside zone. This one's going to be from under center. So what you're going to have, now you run this from under center, we're going to run this on the weak side. Again, what you have to the left side here from under center, we're going to be help here, center gets here, guard's going to get to linebacker after a little bit of help. And then I think there's a defensive end hidden in here somewhere. And we're going to that's all we're reading though, is this defensive tackle. And then seal, seal, and seal. That's all we're looking for. Give me options on the backside. Again, the first place the running back's eyes are going is right here. That's where we're going. Whatever he gets a read on off of that block, that's where he's going to go in inside zone. You kind of create this little triangle in here. Now, here we go. Right there, I'm going to freeze it. You can already see this developing, right? Because we had a slant from the linebacker. This defensive end is way on the outside. We've got a double team, so the guard doesn't even have to worry about the linebacker because he already tilted his way inside on the stunt. And look at this giant block of space right here we have. Again, not much of a read to be made here. Defensive tackle, doubled, linebacker inside. All you got to do is cut up. You get an explosive play. And this is the idea when you're talking about I'm not even touched until a defensive back has to come and get me as a running back. That's the ideal scenario you want. All right, let's get to the outside zone. Now, going to get this back to the top here real quick. Draw this up. Here we go. Outside zone to the left. Now, the whole point in outside zone is the back wants to get to the corner by any means necessary until somebody crosses his face. So what you're going to get, hopefully, is a seal. Everybody seals. Remember I talked before about the backside seal? Now you're pretty much doing it with the entire offensive line. Front, You got to work your front side gap back to somebody head up on you. And when somebody's head up on you, then you got to help and get your backside guy behind you to seal him off and then advance, right? So now you're going to get the center to linebacker. We're going to get here. We're going to seal right back in here, back on the linebacker, and you got this end here. It's very simple. Get to the corner until you can't. What you're going to notice about this running back's footwork is this front toe is going to be pointed right out here to the outside hip of the tight end of the last guy on the line of scrimmage. That's where we want to get to until somebody, if this linebacker crosses our face in here, get up there, right? If it's early and you get a slant this way, get up there. But aim to get outside to the sideline first and then take it back in, then make the cut back in. Here we go. Let's run it. Right there. Here's what we already see. Tackle extended too far out to this side. We've already got people crossing face on the inside here of my guard. Now, you can already see the goal is to get outside. Sometimes you can adjust it and read it pre-snap a little bit if you're a back, but you can already kind of see this is developing. There's a cutback developing somewhere in here. See that? Right here. You can already see the lane. Cut it up in here. That's where the positive yardage is because I had two guys cross my face. See that? As a back, that's all you're trying to do. Get to the corner until you can't. Let's show you the next one. This is from the shotgun this time. A little bit different approach, but same idea is going to apply. Get to the corner until you can't. And if you can, well, then just sprint on outside. What you're going to see on this play is that the D-line is actually going to slant in this way, and this end is actually going to seal himself off by the tight end in here, and that's all you're going to get is the back is going to take the same approach. On the inside here, you're going to get in here, you're going to get a seal there, center's going to try to reach up to linebacker, backside cut, this guy, don't care, he's not involved, right? That's all we're going to get at there. So, get to the corner until you can't. That's the rule in outside zone. Freeze it right here, look at my defensive end. Look at him.
Wow,
see,
yeah.
See how we already have it sealed? He slanted inside and sealed him off. Already I've got a scenario where I've got a running back who looks like he's trying to get one-on-one with a slot corner on the outside. That's all you're looking for. Get to the corner until you can't. Guess what? We got to the corner. We've got ourselves a solid play outside zone. That's the entire idea, is all you're trying to do in outside zone is seal off blockers. If you can get to the edge, if you can get to the sideline, fantastic. If not, first man that crosses your face, cut it up. Want to move to the gap stuff now?
Let's do it now.
Let's get downhill now.
That was inside zone and outside zone. Here's what we characterize as gap
inside
plays.
And outside zone. Now, it's not that there's not still reads to make in gap concepts, but duo is definitely the one where there's the most reads that you have to make, right? So what we're going to talk about here is double teams. That's why it's called duo. This is the most common gap scheme run now. Sean McVay runs it a ton with the Rams. You got the Bills run it a good amount. Remember your Pittsburgh Steelers with Le'Veon Bell reading those duo concepts. And why we call it duo? Well, simple. We're going to have two double teams going here and here on both defensive tackles. That's the idea. And the whole point is now this tight end's going to go up with this linebacker. We're going to seal inside here. And and if it goes down, we're going to go down in here. And then we're going to get seal off in there. But the entire idea is that you're going to see gaps open up. Two things. One is here. One is going to be here. Maybe you get one back on the backside here. You got options. And the first thing the back has to do, and he can't bail on this too early, is he's got to attack this A gap right in front of him. If he can get through there and this double team works and somebody climbs to the linebacker and we got a beeline to the end zone, fantastic. That's all we're looking for, and we can do that. If not, then you see where the double teams take you. If he fills hard, then you can bounce to the outside and see where it goes. If he fills hard and we don't feel like we have the front side, you can bounce back in here and see if this takes it. You have options, but the entire idea of it first is to get a linebacker to commit. If he commits to the A gap, then so be it, but you have to press it. You can't try to guess this if you're a back before the play and you just go, okay, I'm going to take this outside, because then you're shot. Your decision's already made and the flow is gone. Press and then make a decision. So we're going to look at this decision that's made here by this back. Here we go. Watch. See how I press this straight up right there?
Yep.
Now it's decision time. This is fun because what you have is, okay, he filled the A gap. Double team is good here. Double team is good here. Let's actually follow this wave. My tight end's getting up on this linebacker. I don't mind it at all, but I like that he presses and he makes the middle linebacker commit to it. These double teams are winning the battle. That one especially is sealed off really nice. So somebody on the front side, especially this middle linebacker, is going to try to make a play on this. And you look at the jump cut, gets out here. Solid run, 5-yard run. That's all you're looking for when obviously you want explosive plays every time out. But that's what you're looking for with duo. The double team works, your back presses the hole, and he makes the right decision. Let's go to the next one. This next one's even better. Here we go. Freeze. Our guy, Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State, did this a lot when he was there. Now, same thing. We're going to go off the right side this time. You can see it. Double here. Double here. What's going to happen is a seal. Actually, I think this kicks back. I think the guard is going to seal this linebacker. What's going to happen? Back's going to press this A gap. This is to the right this time. He's going to press it, and what's going to happen is this linebacker is going to get sealed, and he's going to jump right back around this double team and get right in here. Why? Because these double teams, they're very hard, obviously. You're just looking for your defensive tackles to just hold up well enough to give your linebackers enough space. But when the back presses and the linebacker commits, which you're going to see right now, there's a whole different set of problems when you're linebackers. What do I always say? Good teams block on the first level. Great running teams block on the second level. This is what happens when you get second level blocks right here. Here we go. We're going to show it right there. Press. See how it's already filling up?
Yep.
See how we got the backside seal on this linebacker? And we even got the front side linebacker lost. I can't even see him in there. You see this hole. You see the center start to commit. Because actually, I should say this is the guard here. The center gets up to the second level. And then you have the cut back here. And a running back's dream in any concept. Watch this. Not even touch till a free safety gets to him. Anytime you get a free safety as the first guy to touch the running back, that's a darn good run play. That's how you create explosive plays. One more time. Again, backside open, another cut, free safety on a back, big play. Okay, that's duo. That's what you're talking about when you're talking about duo. So, get into that. Want to pull some linemen? Want to get some pullers going? We've been real straightforward
power, right?
so far. This is too straightforward a show for us, obviously. So, now, first one we talked about earlier. We're going to get into power. Talked about power. All power is all on one side. Your side over there where all those big guys are.
Yep.
Down blocks, down blocks, down blocks. And when we say down blocks, all you're doing is taking the closest guy to your inside shoulder and blowing him right off the ball. Here we go. Here, tackle, down, down. This end is going to get in here, and we're going to drive him down as a tight end. And then this backside guard, we're going to get the center down this way, and that's a big block there. The center's got a huge block because this is a guy who can blow up the entire play if he gets off the ball quick enough. Now, seal inside here so we can close off this gap where our pulling guard is leaving. We get around here. And if this end, a lot of times, if he stays on the outside, then a lot of times you get a kick. If he goes inside like he does here, then you're going to get a pulling guard up on the linebacker right here if he gets over the top, right? But essentially, if the guard gets by that end, he's going to hit the first thing he sees, and he's going to pancake it. That's the entire idea. He gets that momentum going, and we're getting the numbers game going, right? So let's assume the center is not in this. We always talk about numbers now when we're talking about the run matchups. So you're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the puller is 5 against 1, 2, 3, 4. Got to feel good about that, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly why you pull guards, because you change the numbers game on one side of the line of scrimmage. You don't always have to block every guy in the entire formation perfectly. The whole point of pulling guards is to change the numbers game on one side and outflank a defense. So, let's run it. Oh, we look pretty good right there. I'm going to freeze it right there because you can see all the down blocks. I think there might have even been 6 offensive linemen on this play. I got my defensive end. Look, right now, this is setting up that I got a pulling guard on some skinny guy over here wearing number 11. That's a good scenario to have when you're running power, because look at this wave. See the wall that all these down blocks create? That's what you're looking for, okay? So even though there might be a little bit of a loss here in the center, I'm not worried about it because I'm not going back there anyway. It'd be an emergency if I had to cut this to the backside. This linebacker is too slow getting over the top. Let's run it. That's pretty good right there. I mean, when you're talking about, again, you talk about we've got a defensive back is the first guy. That's a first guy that's going to touch my running back. Again, a great scenario. So when you're talking about pulling people, running power, tilting the numbers on the offensive line, that's exactly what you're looking for. Let's go to the next one. We got counter. Two pullers now.
I love counter.
Let's have some fun. I know you do. And look, a lot of coaches do too. And there's so many different variations of it, right? It can be too
This
often.
is what Ohio State really ran on the way to the Natty.
Chip Kelly won a national title, switching his run schemes to this right here, and his great backs, Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, they learned in about a 3-week span how to run it. Not that they didn't earlier in the season, but they really cranked it up. Chip Kelly's usually a zone guy. Same idea though. Front side, down, down, down. Create that front side wall so everybody can get around. You're going to get a guard pulling, and the first thing the guard is going to do on counter, the first blocker on counter, 99% of the time, he's got to kick out, because initially you've got this defensive end unblocked. He's got to kick out. We want this lane right here to stay as open as possible. Backside tackle, seal. Make sure, that's a tough assignment. Got to get to this linebacker, or maybe even help with this penetration here. And then my second guy in this, so there's different ways to do it. You can run a GT counter, which is guard and tackle. You can run a GH counter, it's usually called, with the tight end. And the idea of this tight end now is that he's the lead, right? Before, when I talked about on power, the pulling guard, hit the first thing you see, right? That's the tight end's job here. The guard is kicking out. He just needs to keep this lane open as possible for the tight end to get through, and then for the back to get through. And the entire idea, we ran a version of this in the wing tee in St. Pete. The entire idea is to keep that lane as open as possible, to overpower the guys on the front side with numbers, especially with two pullers now. And then again, the lead block. If the lead block ideally gets to this free safety, we're gone. That's it. You can see the grass. There's the rest of the grass right there. We're gone. If it's got to be a linebacker, cool. The one thing you don't want to do, if you're a pulling guard in this, the front side puller, don't miss this guy.
Yeah.
You're going to ruin the whole thing. Don't miss this guy, and if you're here, you don't even have to blow this guy off the ball. Just keep this.
Especially when that's Landon Jackson.
Especially when that's Landon Jackson. There's some really darn good defensive ends. If that's Myles Garrett, don't miss him.
Yeah.
You probably will anyway, because that's Myles Garrett, but that's not the point. Here we go. Let's run it. You see it now. Two pullers. Now, what's going to happen? Two bad things happen here. Okay. One, this tackle did not get the down block. Right here. See how he's got a bad angle?
Yep.
We got this kind of walled off. So this is a play. There wasn't a whole lot of counter run at the Senior Bowl because it takes reps and reps to execute, and they only have 3 days to practice. But you do have some outlets if something goes wrong. I think it's a good example where also you got Landon Jackson squeezing down the space on this puller. So that lane I talked about before is not there. The back is going to do a nice job of adjusting, though, because a lot of times if you get over pursuit and everybody's getting to the outside, well, now you got to see him on the inside, don't you? You can already see this wall getting here. So this is a really nice job. You remember Travion Henderson, the big touchdown run against Tennessee in the playoff game? It's exactly how this happened. It wasn't a play that was blocked all that great, but because there are outlets in every play as well, and sometimes you get guys to over pursue, they can take this backside cut, and it's the same thing that happens here. If it didn't want to freeze, we got a solid gain anyway, even though the play wasn't blocked perfectly. So, counter. Fun one. It's one that teams run a lot nowadays, especially in college. We're noticing that it's becoming the base of a lot of Florida State's another one. Mike Norvell and those guys are a team that loves to run counter. Trap. This is another one I used to love to run at St. Pete because it's really fun. For some reason for me, anytime you get to leave somebody unblocked, it's always fun because it's like, what are you doing with them, right? So the whole idea of running a trap is now we're pulling the backside guard again. All right, and it's going to be on the inside this time. See this 3 technique right here? We're not going to touch him. We're not going to touch him. What we're going to do is bail on him, and we're going to leave his head spinning. Hopefully, he doesn't know what's coming. Okay? We'll see where that goes. Tackle's going to vacate. Second level. Kick this out. That's fine. Same thing here. Big down block from the center. Need this sealed off, especially on an inside play. If that's not sealed off, it's going to blow up the whole thing. Second level in here. Not worried about that. We'll run it inside the other way. Now, the entire point of this, leave this guy unblocked. A lot of times when D linemen are unblocked, they don't really know what to do. They're like, wait, why didn't they block me? What's going on? Why didn't we block you? Because we got this big hammer of a trap block coming right there, and we're trying to open up this space on the inside. So what's fun about this is 2 things. You leave an unsuspecting D tackle unblocked with a puller waiting. So if he doesn't have his head around, knowing, okay, there's a puller coming for me, because D linemen are taught that, they don't always listen, especially in the game when they're tired. It might be late in the third quarter and they're huffing and puffing and they just don't know what's coming.
And usually it's edge rushers that get unblocked, left unblocked, not really D tackles often.
Right.
So.
But this is the exact setup to do it because we have this down block and we have the pulling guard ready. And the big thing too on this, if you want to create a big play out of a trap, is that look how quickly we're getting. These guys are getting. They're not even touching him. They're getting to the second level right off the ball, right at the snap of the ball. So now they're free. They've got free release on linebackers, and you've got one guy that's left here who, if he he doesn't have his head on a swivel, he's going to get clocked, right? That's the entire idea here. And what's funny about this play, what you're about to see, is that this is blocked extremely well. And honestly, I don't love the cut that the back makes here. But again, you got teams playing in the Senior Bowl with a week of practice under their belt. But we're going to look at it anyway because I really love the way that this is blocked, okay? Here we go. Watch. See how he's unblocked?
Oh, yeah.
Free release to the second level here. Head on a swivel. Not too bad a job, but man, oh man, it's right there. The back doesn't take it. We're going to see that in a second when I run this again, but the back doesn't take it. But boy, that is the alley that I'm looking for when you're talking about a trap. So that's the entire idea. Backside works the same as power. Seal it off. Down block is mediocre there. Guy who hasn't played center a whole lot. Free release on the second level. We got something to work with. Now, I'm going to run this. The back's going to take the backside cut, mostly because he doesn't quite trust this center. And that's a big thing, too. You know, with all of these schemes, chemistry. You know, people think about, okay, continuity on the offensive line with the quarterback, with the protections. There's a continuity, too, and a trust that comes with the offensive line and the running back and vice versa. With the line knowing, okay, if we block this the right way, the back's going to make the right cut, right? This is done on 3 days of practice. It's tough. But when teams talk about, well, why is it so important to have all 5 of your offensive linemen healthy? It's this part, too. It's the trust that the backs have in them now and vice versa. So here, I really like the way this is blocked. He's going to take this backside cut and make something of it. I don't love it because it was there, but I'm going to run it one more time to that point. That's the big thing, though, is that, again, unblocked, second level, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right here. Even half a second later, the center does seal this off. That's a trust thing, right? When you get more reps in practice, I think about like a rookie running back like Ashton Jinsey going to the Raiders. These are the reps that you have to get through in practice and then see on tape and go, hey, it was there. That's all he needs is a Chip Kelly to tell him, hey, it was there. Just take it. They did it. They got it. And then the back goes, okay, I trust them. That's my offensive line, right? Couple more we have here. Okay, this is this Kyle Shanahan special right here. This is
pull lead, right?
We have a category of runs when we define them as pull leads, and it involves anything with a front side puller. It could be the guard in a G scheme. It could be a pin pull like we have here because you're pinning with this slot receiver and pulling. That's something Kyle Shanahan loves to do with Trent Williams. That's one of his favorite things. There's all sorts of Jason Kelsey used to pull all the time. Anything, we drop it all in the pull lead bucket, but there's a million different ways to do it. The most common one nowadays is called pin and pull, okay? You're pinning this defensive end down with hopefully somebody bigger than Xavier Restrepo, but he gives it an effort. I think about the Rams, too, with Cooper Kupp. If you have really good blocking receivers or if you have a bunch of tight ends who can flex out, this is a big advantage. But what you're going to get down here, very simple. Everyone else on the backside, it's kind of like zone. You're just kind of sealing. That's kind of where we're at. We're just going to seal and seal. As he's getting up to linebacker, we're going to seal this off. So we're not really looking for cutback lanes here, more so than, okay, Restrepo somehow down, whoever that receiver may be down, and we're just getting our big offensive tackle, our big left tackle, out on the edge to hit somebody, right? All those plays you've ever seen with the 49ers and Trent Williams out towards the sideline hitting somebody, that's exactly what you're looking at is all we got to do is take care of this defensive end. And if he wraps around and gets this linebacker, cool. If you get a big left tackle on a cornerback out there on a defensive back, that's cool too. But we're just trying to get to the edge. We're trying to wash all this down and get one big athlete out on the edge to do this. And I know those big offensive linemen like when you call them athletes. So here we go. We're going to see it right here. Kind of looked like a false start there. Toss sweep. This is exactly what we're getting at. You got another receiver who came in to get this linebacker, too. This is actually a really nice job. Look, Restrepo on a 270-pound D end. I get it. That's not what they pay you to do. I get it. Even at Miami, they're paying him college now, too. But this tackle, getting out on a corner, that right there initially, that looks pretty darn good. That looks like the San Francisco 49ers with Trent Williams right there. You've got all this space, and that's what you're looking for. My receivers help me out sealing it down. I'm not saying they're going to pancake anybody, but just seal it, and then you get a big tackle on a cornerback, and you got a mismatch on the outside. Now, we don't get this block, so it leaves us a cutback up inside. That's fine. If you're a back, you just got to make positive yardage out of what you can. But that's the entire idea. Again, two elements to it. Pin, pull. That's why it's called that. Get out there. We got to cut it up. Same kind of rule as zone. Cut it up if somebody crosses your face. That's what you're getting out of a pin pull. Now, there's all, again, pull leads and front side pullers. There's all sorts of different elements to that. Coaches are constantly drawing up plays with different versions of that. Even the Eagles, I remember when they had Jason Kelsey, he was all over the place on things like that too. Last one, easy one. a draw. In this case, it's actually going to be Jackson Dart here with a quarterback draw. It can be with the back. It can be with the quarterback. We've seen it. The back's actually going to lead him up here. So all you're looking at, look, this is often used nowadays on 3rd and longs just to get some yardage. Or I've seen even Joe Burrow score touchdowns like this where if it's, okay, there's no linebackers, right? If you have no linebackers and there's all this space in the middle, drop back like you're going to throw it, let it rip. That's all you're looking to do. Just fake the throw. It used to be run from under center with, okay, we drop back 5 steps and then just hand it off. But that's the only thing. It's deception. It's not used as much anymore as it used to be. But we'll take a look at it because all you're going to get here, basically your tackles are going to pass set like they were. Yeah, that's there. Tight end knows we're drawing. And then the inner 3 are kind of the key guys here. If you're engaged up front, take him. If not, take a pass, have about a half a pass set, and then get up. My back's going to lead up to wherever he goes. He's eventually going to turn around and look at my quarterback here. I have no idea.
Basically, it's like the opposite of play action.
Yeah, you're just
you're faking the pass and you're actually going to run.
This is 3rd and 20. Everybody thinks you're going to throw it. Just get off the field and punt. Or there's times, again, there can be the right look for a quarterback draw. I think, to me, the Eagles do it really well, especially with Jalen Hurts when you talk about, okay, if you don't have a linebacker, some sort of spy in there, this can be an explosive play by design in a better situation. Because, again, this is 3rd and 20 where you can create a lot of havoc because you go, oh, shoot, we forgot about the quarterback, right? Okay. Or even in a draw scenario with the back where it's like, okay, everybody drops out and is bailing in coverage, go get them. So, last thing we're going to do here today, we're going to run a little quarterback draw with a lead in front of them. Here we go. Again, 3rd and 20. You saw the ball fake. Yeah, we're dropping back at least loosely. And we do have a lot of space to work with in here. I'm not saying we're going to pick up a whole 3rd and 20, but sometimes the game's about field position too. And you got an ideal scenario here. You've got a tight end maybe getting there. I've got Willie Lampkin, PFF God, over here getting on the linebacker. I've got a back leading up. We've got some space to work with. And with an athlete at quarterback, you never know, right? The only thing I'm not a huge fan of was if we saw that right there is my back. If you're a lead blocker, don't ever look back at the ball carrier. That's the only advice I have for fullbacks or lead blockers, anybody. Don't ever look back at him because he's back there. He's coming. There's no reason to turn around and look at him. But otherwise, a draw, whether it's with the quarterback or the back. That's the last one we're going to go over today. But we got a lot covered. We got inside, outside zone. That's the 2 big ones that everybody's running nowadays. All the pulling stuff with powers, counters, traps, all of that. Duo is a big thing now. If you watch, I think of Sean McVay and the Rams, the way that he's emphasized that in his offense now. So it's a lot of fun to break down these concepts. And coaches have to come up with these things for different fronts they're blocked differently every single week. And that's what the whole week of practice is spent doing.
So like Dalton just said, we just broke down the difference between gap runs and zone runs, and then 8 different run concepts in those 2 buckets of zone and gap runs as well. It's been another episode of PFF Film School.